You're not here by accident. If you're still listening, I want you to know this isn't just another random video. It's not a brief distraction in the middle of your day. It's a deliberate pause, a quiet intersection between you and something much greater than yourself. And I don't say that lightly, because I know that if you're a Scorpio, you don't respond to surface level words. You seek depth. You recognize truth not by how loud it's spoken, but by how deeply it echoes in your soul. So if something about this moment has made you stop, even for a second, maybe you're exactly where you need to be. In this video, I'm not here to offer dramatic predictions or make empty promises. What I want to offer is space. A quiet space where we can look inward together, to acknowledge the cycles you've lived through, the silent weight you've carried, and the questions that may have gone unanswered for years. Today, I want to talk to you about change, about endings, and about beginning. And if you feel something shifting inside you, no matter how small, then stay with me, because what comes next might be the message your soul has been waiting for. You're someone who feels deeply, loves fiercely, and carries your strength in silence. Most people will never truly understand what you've been through because you rarely show it. On the outside, you appear composed, grounded, even unshakable. But inside, there have been nights when you broke down alone, wiped your own tears, and put yourself back together before anyone ever noticed something was wrong. You've mastered the art of pretending you're okay. Not because you're dishonest, but because you didn't want to burden anyone else. You've taken on the weight of others, held space for people who couldn't do the same for you, and kept going even when you were running on empty. But here's what most people don't see. You never gave up. Even in your darkest hours, when it felt like everything was falling apart, something inside you refused to quit. You may have collapsed in private, but you rose again. Quietly, deliberately, and stronger than before. That's not weakness. That's not survival. That's transformation. That's Scorpio. Your sign carries the energy of the phoenix, the sacred cycle of death and rebirth. Each time life has tried to break you, you've come back not as a copy of who you once were, but as someone deeper, more powerful, more aligned with your truth. And today, March 26, 2025, if you're listening to this message, I need you to hear this with your whole being. The universe has not ignored your journey. It saw every moment you stayed kind when you had every reason not to be. It witnessed the strength it took for you to stay soft in a world that kept asking you to harden. It remembers every silent sacrifice you made when no one was watching. And now the message is clear. It's time to be repaid, not with luck, not with coincidence, but with what is rightfully yours. Because no one who walks through the fire with a heart like yours comes out empty-handed. This, right now, is the beginning of your return. Scorpio, you were never the kind of person who worked for attention. While others may have moved fast, loud, or for the applause, you moved with purpose. Quiet, steady, deliberate. You've poured your energy into your work, not to be seen, but to build something that felt aligned with who you are. But let's be honest, there were moments it felt unfair. You've been passed over for recognition, watched others rise with half the effort, and questioned whether the sacrifices you made would ever amount to anything more than exhaustion. Still, you kept going. You didn't stop just because no one noticed. You didn't quit just because the reward didn't come quickly. You've carried responsibilities that weren't yours, worked behind the scenes to hold things together, and delivered far beyond what was expected, all without needing the spotlight. And yet, there were moments you wondered, is it always going to be like this? Will I always have to prove myself twice as hard to be seen, to be heard, to be valued? And what you may not have realized until now is that the path you chose wasn't meant to break you. It was meant to prepare you. What felt like setbacks were simply the universe slowing you down long enough to make sure you were truly ready for what's ahead. The rejections, the delays, the detours, they weren't denials. They were a redirection towards something far more aligned with your purpose. And now that shift is finally beginning. As of this moment, you are entering a new phase of your financial and professional life. One that no longer feels like you're constantly swimming upstream. One where the effort you've given begins to echo back in tangible ways, not just through money, but through meaningful connections, unexpected opportunities, and a new sense of stability. You may start noticing it in subtle ways first. A client who returns after a long silence. an idea that suddenly gains traction, or a conversation that opens a door you didn't even know was there. This shift isn't a coincidence. It's the result of your energy evolving. You are no longer operating from a place of scarcity or survival. You're moving with clarity and intention. And because of that, you're starting to attract not just income, but alignment. You're no longer hustling just to stay afloat. You're building something that honors your values, your pace, your vision. The financial reward is coming, yes, but more importantly, you're stepping into a season where what you do and who you are no longer in conflict. Your work will begin to reflect your truth, your income will match your effort, and the doors that once stayed closed will now recognize your name. Don't be surprised if the next few weeks bring a breakthrough, perhaps quiet, perhaps unexpected, but deeply affirming. This isn't about being lucky. It's about receiving what you've already earned in the spaces no one else could see. And this is just the beginning, because what follows financial stability is emotional freedom. Once you're no longer burdened by the pressure to prove yourself, you'll begin to create from a place of power, not fear. You'll no longer question whether you deserve to be here. You'll know. So take this moment in, let it land. Let it remind you that nothing you've done has been wasted. Because Scorpio, you're not just about to succeed, you're about to lead. And this time, the world is finally ready to recognize the value you've carried all along. Something is shifting quietly, but unmistakably. The energy around your finances, your career, your sense of worth, it's beginning to turn in your favor. A new stream of income is making its way towards you. It may come from an unexpected offer, an opportunity you never saw coming, or even an old idea you once abandoned that's suddenly coming back to life. What once felt out of reach is now beginning to stir, gently but powerfully. This isn't just about getting paid, it's about being recognized. About finally feeling like the value you've been giving out for so long is returning to you with interest. If you're self-employed or running your own business, this period, beginning right now, is the start of a powerful upward trend. The kind of growth that's not just temporary, but sustainable. Your patience, your persistence, your refusal to give up when things were slow or uncertain, these are the qualities that have aligned you with the frequency of real abundance. You're no longer forcing outcomes. You're becoming a magnet for them. And for those of you working within a system that once made you feel small, whether a company, a team, or a role that never fully saw your worth, there's a shift coming too. A breakthrough, a new offer, a pivotal moment that may ask you to step beyond the familiar and into something unknown. That leap outside your comfort zone might feel risky, but it's also where your next level begins. The universe is clear in its message. You no longer have to sacrifice your well-being, your authenticity, or your boundaries just to earn a living. From this point forward, the financial flow in your life will begin to move through channels that feel empowering, not draining. Through work that aligns with your truth, not that requires you to suppress it. This is your moment not just to survive, but to build, to create something meaningful, lasting, something that reflects not only your skills, but your soul. So trust this. You deserve to be paid well for what you do. You are capable of attracting real wealth without losing yourself in the process. You are stepping into a cycle of financial stability that is not quick or fleeting, but grounded, steady, and what comes next is bigger than money. Because once you stop questioning your value, once you begin to stand fully in your worth, everything else starts to shift with it. Your confidence, your relationships, your vision for the future. There is someone who has been watching you, not out of curiosity, but out of recognition, quietly, perhaps from a distance. They've seen something in you that feels familiar, grounding, and rare. This person may be someone from your past, someone who once couldn't meet you where you were, or they may be entirely new, entering your life not with fireworks, but with a calm certainty that feels different from anything you've known before. Whoever they are, they're not arriving with confusion or half-formed promises. They're arriving with clarity, with presence, with a kind of emotional maturity that only comes after both people have done the work to truly know themselves. You've spent enough time giving more than you received, hoping someone would see you not just for what you offered, but for who you are. You've been the one who stayed, who cared deeply, who tried to hold things together even when the other person let go. And maybe over time, you began to wonder if love would always feel like effort, like chasing, like proving. But that phase of your life is ending now. This next chapter isn't about seeking love. It's about becoming so rooted in your truth, so at peace with yourself, that love naturally finds its way to you. Not the kind that makes you question your worth, but the kind that honors it. Not someone who needs you to shrink, to stay silent, or to carry all the emotional weight, but someone who meets you there, grown, present, ready. This love may not announce itself with grand gestures. It may come gently, quietly, like a hand reaching out when you least expect it, but you feel the difference immediately. Because for once, there will be no guessing, no imbalance, no games. Just ease, just depth, just truth. You don't have to chase anymore. You don't have to earn someone's attention. The right person will recognize you fully, and when they do, they'll want to stay. And if deep down part of you still wonders whether love like that is real, let this be your reminder. You've done the healing. You've let go of what no longer serves. And now, love is arriving at the exact moment you are ready to receive it. This connection, whether from the past or completely new, isn't here to repeat old patterns. It's here to write a new story. One where you're not just loved, but understood, seen. And from here, Scorpio, everything begins to open. Because when love becomes a reflection of your wholeness, not your wounds, your entire world begins to change. Something heavy has been lifted. You may not have noticed the exact moment it happened. There was no dramatic sign, no loud ending, but quietly, a cycle that held you down for far too long has finally come to a close. What felt like an invisible curse, a repeating loop of emotional exhaustion, disappointment, or self-doubt has lost its grip. For years, you've moved through patterns that weren't truly yours. You stayed in situations that drained you, held on to relationships that asked you to shrink, and carried beliefs that whispered you weren't enough. Somewhere along the way, your soul grew tired, not because you were weak, but because you were carrying more than you were meant to. But the truth is, you've already begun stepping out of that old reality. The shift has started. The weight you once carried isn't as heavy as it used to be. The people who used to trigger your pain no longer have the same hold. And the stories you used to tell yourself about who you are and what you deserve, they're starting to unravel. This is not just healing, it's liberation. You're not here to repeat the pain of your past. You're here to rewrite it, to break the chain that may have stretched back years, maybe even generations. And by choosing to release what no longer serves you, you're creating space for something new, something softer, something true. Now is the time to let go, not just mentally, but emotionally, spiritually. Let go of the resentment that sits quietly in your chest. Let go of the old roles you played to feel accepted. Let go of the need to always be the strong one, the one who carries it all. You don't have to prove anything anymore. What lies ahead isn't just lighter, it's more aligned. Because when you stop dragging the weight of the past behind you, you begin to move differently. You walk with clarity. You trust your instincts. You begin to feel like yourself again. Not the version molded by pain, but the one that existed before the world taught you to protect yourself at all costs. And that's what this next chapter is about. Not becoming someone new, but returning to who you've always been beneath the armor. Free, whole, unapologetically you. This healing isn't the end of the journey. It's the doorway to everything that comes next. Because only when your hands are free from what no longer belongs can you finally receive what's been waiting for you all along. You are no longer the version of yourself that once questioned everything, your worth, your voice, your place in the world. You're not the person who stayed quiet to keep the peace, who dimmed their light so others could shine, who doubted whether they were enough. That version of you, so brave, so enduring, served a purpose, but it no longer defines who you are becoming. Because now you've stepped out of the shadows you once lived in. You've survived the storms, not by accident, but through sheer resilience. And with every quiet decision to keep going, to heal, to choose yourself, You've become something more. You are the light in the dark. You are the stillness that holds power. You are the voice that doesn't need to shout to be heard. And from this day forward, something changes, not outside of you, but within. This next chapter isn't about proving yourself. It isn't about being chosen. It's about being seen for who you already are and being loved because of it. You've done the work. You've peeled back the layers. You've walked through the fire. And now the version of you that emerges is no longer driven by survival, but by truth, by peace, by purpose. Let this be the moment you claim that shift. Not tomorrow, not when you feel more ready, but now. Write it down, speak it aloud. Let the words take root in your energy. I am ready to receive rebirth, love, and abundance because the universe is listening. And this time it's not just hearing you, it's answering. What's ahead is not just different, it's what you were always meant for. And now finally, you're ready to hold it.